Alright, so why did I bring you here today? Why did I bring you to the beautiful lakefront district of Hobart, Indiana? The only historical downtown in all of Northwest Indiana, situated on a natural existing lake right by the clock tower. Well, that's just for context. Riding my bike, riding this 20-inch BMX bike, right? American made, 4130 chromoly steel, double butted, heat treated, double heat treated, whatever. Yeah, you know what that means, but basically you can say at one point in my life, about 2020 year, I plan on going to Spain. Plans change, settings change, whatever, in the sense that, it's like Trevor Wallace said, life's a movie and you're the director. And, maybe you write a movie script and you plan on going to Barcelona or Cáceres and España. But you don't get a chance to do it because whatever reason, man, things happen, tides change, the wind blows a different direction. Doesn't mean you might not find yourself in this beautiful city whenever other time, but whatever. So we're here in Hobart, Indiana today, and we're here for a very important reason, and it's to discuss a story we'll call When the Paths of Three Men Cross. And it's going to have two parts. I'm probably just going to make it in this one video because we're here, we're going to talk about it, and the scene is right. And I have to take you here. Well, I have to, right? We use that in our vocabulary, and some of you who may have you could say I did and am and still will be continuing to honor the living memory of both my mother and my father. And I brought you here and played the song I Miss You by Aaliyah, and beautiful day out, the water was clear, and you can put this side by side to the scene here with the lake and the water, and just see how high the water is. Just how it just looks different. Like this is a path people usually walk, and it was pouring down rain last night, dude. They say it rains, it pours, and literally and figuratively. The tears poured out, and so did the rain. And it could have been raining harder, dude. And what am I doing? Fuck, blasting around this place on my BMX bike because I felt like it and I wanted to do it. I wasn't going anywhere other than maybe get a little bit of exercise or whatever. And I was enjoying it, man. But I brought you here for a very important reason. It's the part where the story doesn't get so much lighthearted, but we start talking about some serious things: financial distress, men's mental health. Laugh all you want, but the story isn't about me, so I'm not asking for anyone to reach out. Oh, are you okay? Oh, shouldn't laugh. Because people care, and it's okay to care. So it's no sense in laugh, but usually you can just walk through here. Quite frankly, in reality, I could walk through it. Not much more than halfway up my calves. For a man that barely tall enough to ride a roller coaster at Six Flags without an ID. But maybe you can hear that go. We're barely getting in here. You're almost in the water, man. Fact is, if you were laying down right now, you would drown. And came through here last night. Oh, fuck. Yeah, we're about as tucked away in this little cove, if you will, under this, this bridge. In a small town, dude, or a small city, population like 35,000 people. It's kind of working class to middle class to, some neighborhoods are upper middle class, I guess, however you want to divide it. The socioeconomic divide in the world today it's disgusting. It's not to say you don't turn to hate. It's easy to, what do you know, my socks sweat even though I'm as tucked away as, man, size of a average fifth grader could fit, but stature, not weight. Let's be honest here. But I'm here today because I'm sitting here where the cross passed of me and another man. A man who, for reasons unknown to me, for reasons that'll never be known to me, paths crossed twice yesterday. We'll start with the first one. And it said I came blasting through here on my bike. I know, the bike tops out. I'm talking about a pedal bicycle here. People are like, oh, I took the bike out. People think I have a motorcycle. It's like, nah, dude, I got a bicycle. A couple of them, but, with no decline, the way I have it set up, the gear ratio is a single speed drive, tops out at 17 miles per hour for, we'll say my physical ability. But mind you, there's a hill coming in here, so I was doing let's say 23, 24 miles per hour, dude, blasting, took this corner blindly. And I knew it was storming and whatever. Well, it's flooded a little bit, just enough for my brakes to get wet. And it was essentially brakeless, just flying through here, about to crash into a wall. And if that's how you want to think about it, but nah, dude. You take some risk in life, man. You calculate about the risk. And I guess it doesn't matter if it's plugged in or not, but it doesn't matter the risk. You assume some sort of risk always, and I just think I was risk adverse, but maybe I am, but financially in whatever sense, but some risk is always assumed and some assumption is always made, and it's fine. My father's generation, believed, because it was told to them by generations before that you don't make an assumptions, because if you make an ass out, you make assumptions every day, and you have to assume some things, and some things have to be assumed, and that's fine. You just be mindful of the assumptions you make. And so digressing, getting to the raw part of this and that. I was having the time of my life in the middle of what might have been a thunderstorm, lightning storm. Dude, I could have got struck by lightning. I couldn't. If there was a way to leave this earth, it is what it was. Or, I'm saying, say it is what it is, or it is what it was, but it wasn't. Because, you don't have to focus on the negative, dude. It's so easy to just fill your mind with these negative thoughts and focus on the negative. And, I could have died on a bicycle when I was 11-year-old breadcrumbs. But I didn't, and that's, wink, wink, didn't make it too obvious, but there was a man down here sleeping last night, and, you see it on the TV, you see it on the Facebook, some of you watch and may live in bigger cities like Chicago or Los Angeles or whatever, and you may see it every day. And, I worked at a restaurant in Valparaiso, Indiana. It's another community. We'll say 25 minutes from here on the drive, 12 miles or whatever. 20 kilometers. Damn near a 3-4 hour walk. You ever have to walk it. You don't have to. You choose to. You don't have to do anything. But there was a man sleeping down here, and I'd seen the homeless in Valparaiso, and I had seen some of the men of the generation before me make fun of these men who, for whatever reason, may have just been down on their luck, and make fun of these dudes for being homeless. And quite frankly, most of them are probably just carless. I would see some of these guys, some of them, you could tell maybe they were unhoused for whatever reason. In fact, there's only one men's house or whatever you call it in the entire state of Indiana. And, this isn't about me. And the fact is, if you think you're about to lose your house, you're probably not. The mortgage company doesn't want your house. They don't want to take your house from you. The foreclosure process, a lot of paperwork on their end, quite frankly, if we're just being honest here. They'd rather, they make their money off of these loans, and, they have these big business accounts, your house, dude. It's not the biggest account in their balance sheet or whatever, and take a 9th grade business class and what a balance sheet is maybe, but fact of the matter is, I saw this man, this soul, if you will, and dude, he could have been dead for all I knew, and he was just laying down here, and dude, the shit was flooded, and there was maybe just enough space to fit not even a twin size bed. And I could barely sit here, crisscross applesauce as a man who's not even tall enough to reach the third highest shelf, let alone the top shelf. And I thought about it, man. I was like, dude, can I help this guy? Do you care about people, dude? It's just natural. And I was like, you know what? This guy's safe. Nothing's gonna come by and hurt him. I mean, I could have left my phone number, business card, and offered this guy some help, but I thought about it, dude, and I thought, and I was gonna wake the guy up because who knows how long you've been up, and you need some rest, physically, mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever, and all the above. And I didn't, dude. I didn't, and I kind of just kept riding, and this is where, all right, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it because shoes are just shoes, and socks are just socks, and we're about to soak the Vans as we try to navigate this corner here that is completely flooded. I've seen it flood a little bit. Ugh. It's been a while since I've seen this place this flooded. We're gonna take the bike, and we're gonna make our way down this little path here, and we're already ankle deep, and I'm on an elevated surface. Oh yeah, socks are wet, feet are wet. Oh yeah, dude, shoes are soaked, man, and holy shit. This is on the elevated surface, oh yeah, this whole part of the boardwalk's we're about to find out just how deep it is. We're diving in a sense. Getting our shoes wet, it's inconvenience, have to wash them, whatever. But yeah, we're going in to the waters, if you will, and that is, holy shit, that's so cold. Oh, life is suffering, right? And, but really, I'm just standing in the water that's halfway up my calves. Oh, all right, now my shoes are soaked, mainly ruined. Now their shoes will dry out. Inconvenience, right? Ooh, and the insoles I just put in it, but it brings this corner here. This little corner is kind of tucked away, and I pissed in this corner before because, dude, I had to pee one time, man, and I've done it, and you're out walking a marathon. You put yourself on because you wanted to, and it's 3 a.m. You got to pee, and the only public restrooms are locked because, God forbid they're open when it's 0 degrees outside, because God forbid a homeless dude sleeps in there one night instead of sleeping under a bridge. I just had to pee. I just had to pee. And people joke oh, men got it so lucky they can just pee outside. I mean, when I was 9 years old, sure, but dude, once you're 14, you get charged as a man, and you get charged with these heinous crimes. Which not if you really do something like that. But maybe some dudes are just peeing, dude, because they had to pee, and they've fucking been holding their piss for 3 hours. Fuck it, dude. 40 seconds about to piss, and man, I just thought about helping this guy, and we'll get to that. But I really just kept going, dude. And I was coming through here, and I saw this guy, and I'm visually impaired to a certain degree, and I saw this guy, I didn't know what he's doing. I was like, oh, dude, I almost crashed back there, man. Fucking, coming through, whatever, and shit soaked, and put my brakes, and he was peeing, dude. This guy was peeing, and I could tell it made him uncomfortable, right? He's ugh. We don't really talk to each other when we're at the urinal, but I wasn't standing close to the guy, 20 feet away, and I was like, man, this guy's out here peeing, and just midnight, 1 a.m., someone's probably not gonna come by, especially not someone's kid. They should probably be in bed at that point, but I was like, you know what, man, and let me look over this guy in the sense of, I know that fear when you just have to piss in public, and you're not even in public, dude. You go off these railroad tracks and these trails, and dude, I just got pee, don't let anybody catch me. This guy thought he got caught, and I was like, you know what, look over him in a sense, right? Just crack the joke, break the awkward silence of dude, I'm kind of just, my shoes are soaked, dude, soaked. These Vans are soaked. Probably gonna smell like fucking nasty lake water. It is what it is, man. Get a new pair of shoes, even though I really like these. I'll probably clean them, but now this gets to part of the story that really matters. You know, the 15 minutes of me ranting about dude under a bridge, this dude pissing, Anthony David Vandis and Zachary Bartell are no longer with us today. These are two men at one point in my life were like brothers to me, man, and we got on the bus stop together. And I met Zachary Bartell when I was in 8th grade. So Zachary and Anthony would have been in the 7th grade. Dude, Bartell was a good kid, man. Great guy, great man, and so caring. And you know, this is where we're gonna, we talk about men and how they get to know each other, whatever. You know, me and Anthony, fucking beat the shit out of each other, you could say, and was a bit of an overstatement however many times. And it's not, I'm not condoning violence, because violence is bad, but the real story of when me and Anthony met, I was 8 years old, Anthony was 6 years old, and it's a blanket, a bag of chips, a jacket, and some oranges, dude. Just sitting there. I didn't stage this. Fuck. Could have been from the guy from last night. Redirect, man. You don't want to invade someone's privacy. Yeah, that was his. I don't know if this strange man that, shouldn't even say the word strange, this guy that I had a chance to talk to, or at least give him a phone. He doesn't even have a phone, dude. Maybe his phone got shut off because, God forbid, he's unemployed for a month, 2 weeks, whatever, 2 months. Anyway, we're just gonna walk the bike. Helmet's in the back. I don't feel like digging it out. We focus on the story of the day Anthony and I first met, dude. Rode up on my bike, just some nosy kid coming in his yard. And, he's probably just being a nice kid because he's a nice kid, and probably tried making fun of my bike or made a joke about it. He's probably made it in a kind hard way, and quite frankly, I punched him in the face. Why'd I do that? Because I had a resentment and hatred in my heart towards my own grandfather who wouldn't even talk to me. I was 8 years old, took it out on some kid down the street. But he didn't see it that way. Somehow, became best friends that day after I fucking punched him in the face. Me and Zach, we never actually fought. None of us really did. It was like a bonding thing. UFC nights in the backyard. Or, remember one time me and Bartell were just body box. I don't know if that is like when you feel like punching your friend, but you don't punch each other in the face. You guys just exchange body shots for 2 minute round, and why? I don't know. You feel some sort of way about it, some sort of bonding thing. Like, I don't know, dude. It's kind of funny to say men don't talk about their emotions, but all we know is what we're taught. At one point in your life, someone had to teach you how to use a fork. People talk about common sense. There's no such thing as common sense. There's instinct. There's common knowledge, and people think there's some sort of gray area, but there's no such thing as common sense. There's instinct, but there's no such thing as common sense. It's a lie made up by whoever. But I'm going to fix this little thing. Someone made is beautiful, quite frankly. And the wind, man. These things need care, and sometimes someone just has to care, man. Straighten some things out real quick. But anyway, dude, Zach Bartell, rest in peace, man. I love you. I made a decision not to, or attend for whatever reason I may have, but it was the first time I stated this publicly because it's been so many years now. But I'm not doing this for attention or whatever. I know how to help his family, man. Me and Zach were close, but I sent his family $500 anonymously. Because all I knew how to do, man. And I wanted to send 1,000 and thought about it, man. I could have sent 1,000, I could have sent 2,000, whatever it may be, but that don't even matter, dude. That's not even the real cost. It's just one part of it. It's just one part of it. So that's the point. I know we're at like 20 minutes now. Thank you for tuning in if you're here still so far. But me, Anthony, and Zach got on that bus for the last time 6 weeks before I was about to graduate. 6 weeks before I was going to have, I don't know, 40 college credits, start taking dual credit classes when you're a freshman, and taking 8 your senior year, and you get expelled. You get expelled. You know, in a sense, it's like you kind of get taken off the ward, if you will. You know, you're this troubled prisoner or whatever. And, you know, it's the three of them like, oh my God, there's so much trouble and or whatever. But why are they troubled? Because they're, you know, every day they're forced out of their parents' house, shackled at 5:50 in the morning to be shuttled on a bus to a, you know, this prison encampment, this prison, and you know, they don't care about their prisoners, and you know, they just absorb money out of them. You know, you get out of line, you break a rule, you publicly get shamed in front of all your peers. But you know, they come out to the bus and they literally put you in handcuffs. And Zach Bartell was sleeping. Woke him up. I was sleeping. You know, 7 in the morning. Man was just trying to get some rest. Had a big day ahead of him. Let's be honest, 10 hours in this prison. And oh, I'm sorry. That's it. I'm at school. I don't know where that came from, but you know, this is the part where if you're still listening, and we'll answer the questions. Class of 2012, Crown Point High School Corporation, which is a business which prioritizes their profits over their students. You know, their customers, aka me, the guy who brought more money into that school than anybody else, because the funding is based off of the standardized test scores, and I had the highest test scores in the entire graduating and non-graduating class, which I graduated, but whatever. Didn't get to walk or whatever. But 12 years running, that ain't a flex. That's just the truth. Someone had to be at the top of the class in a sense, academically. Well, not academically. You know, I had good grades in some classes, but you know, C's to get degrees or whatever. But you know, you can have 180 college credits. You know, you don't pass one calculus class. You know, a business that values their profits over their consumers. I mean, their students. You know, this school is really a corporation. You know, Purdue University will tell you don't have a degree. It doesn't mean you don't have an education and get real world experience. Anyway, as I digress, this ain't about me. And, you know, my heart goes out to the Bartell family and the Landis family. And I did what I had to do to clear Bartell's name. And I admitted to what I did. And that was it. You know, and because the fact of the matter is, although Mr. Bartell got on the bus at the same bus stop as Anthony and I that day, he wasn't with us prior to that. He just happened to, we booked. Bus shows up to your neighborhood at 5:50 a.m. You know, has to turn around in the neighborhood, so it's like a 2-minute warning to get to the bus. And the bus driver's like, oh, this isn't actually a stop. It's like, lady, I go to bed at 3 a.m. because that's the time I can fall asleep, and you get 2 hours of sleep every night between the ages of, the time of your life when brain development's important and sleep's important, whatever. And if you're still listening, we'll make this a 30-minute video now. Mr. Cuffy was my vice principal, which I have so much respect for. And this is the conversation we had. He called in Officer D or whatever, his name was. He had this attitude and searched me and literally stripped me down to my boxers and felt on my balls and made me take my shoes off and knock them out and gut my shoes like I had something on me, dude. And she put this man in his place so fast. Like, after I had to go through all that, everything minus a cavity search, quite frankly, over what, didn't have anything on your prison site or whatever. They try to play, both Officer D try to play mind games. Dude, I saw through the bullshit, man. And people are like, oh, why'd you admit to it? To clear Zach Bartell's name, because I wasn't going to let an innocent man get in trouble for something he didn't do, whether it was big or small. And Miss Cuffy puts my name in the system. She's like, oh, Mr. Ashcraft, I don't think we've met before. She was very nice. She Officer D was like standing in the corner. She's like, "Oh, you can go." And he was like, "Oh, your safety." She's like, "Yeah, I don't feel threatened." She's like, "You can go." And he did your job, and he kept asking the same questions. She put her in place for that. She's like, "Oh no, he answered your question." So you, and she actually, this is the first time we had a conversation, and so much respect for that woman. And she told me, what happened. She read the the rule book thing to me, and mind you, this is probably coming from someone way higher up than her, the board of whatever directors and people who own the prison, who are making the profits off these these students. And I was like, "Listen, Miss Cuffia, you and I both know what the handbook says, and we both know that." She's like, "I've never made it before." So you got you're taking all these school dual credit classes, and a perfect record. It's like, but it got to the point where it came down to the money, and she was like, and she told me that I had the highest test scores in the entire school. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get the thing in the mail, and I'm 99% out." And she had told me like 4 times. She's like, "No, you have the highest test scores in the entire school." And her tone changed. She kind of sat back in the chair and she thought. And I heard her say, "Expelling you would lower," she said, "expelling you would lower the school's budget or the funding." Like literally, like she put in the computer, and she took me out of the system, out of the school. 3,000 students taking me out significantly lowered the school's budget to the point where she considered fighting it against the board of whatever, because they want their money. And she kind of stopped. She's like, "Oh, Aaron, you're a senior, right? You're about to graduate in 6 weeks." I'm like, "Well, yeah, I thought." And she's like, "Oh, that doesn't matter then." Like, okay, lady, whatever, but it is what it is. It happened when it happened, whatever. Dude, I didn't go off to some fancy college, but it was what was supposed to happen. My father always said everything happens for a reason. The fact of the matter is, had I gone to Purdue, the real Purdue campus as they call it, or whatever other out of state or international university, I wouldn't have been there when my mother passed, and I wouldn't have been there to help my father with his grievance. So I'm thankful that it happened, and I do not regret the decision to quote unquote ratting myself out, because it meant to clear the name of Zach Bartell and to put respect on his family's last name. And yeah, whatever happened may or may not have happened. And it wasn't anything bad, dude. Didn't harm anybody. Rumors spread, I'm sure, and maybe not. You're like, dude, where the fuck this could go? Dude, he's just here one day, never missed a day of class, and yeah, whatever, man. And I was young, dude. I was like 18. Felt like school sucked if you wanted it to, but it was good classes. It was amazing classes, dude. This foods class I took, amazing. But we're gonna cut it off at 30 minutes. Like Pop said, boy, don't shut up sometimes. It's gonna be the longest one you may or may not have seen. And, before you reach out worried about me, just mind you that by the time you're seeing this video, a lot of times it has lapsed since the time that I recorded it. It's been in the vault. If every video you see, there's 100 recorded. For every 100 recorded, there's 100 that, never gonna get aired because they don't need to. So, life's a movie, but movies don't necessarily portray life in a real way. But they do. They teach you. It's about the lessons they teach you, the morals they teach you. And that's that. I said 30 minutes, we're at 29. And silence is powerful. And the last minute's a moment of silence for both Anthony Vandis and Zach Bartell. Love you guys. Yeah, well, you may not be here today in the physical sense. Doesn't mean that I would let anybody speak bad on your family's last name.